Yo, what's going on? Oh, doing that shit again. Yo, what's good, Task Bentley? Wizard checking in. Mike's still out. Enjoying the Grand Canyon. I brought a fucking leaf in. I'll be right back. Yeah, it won't let me stream in portrait mode. I don't know what the deal is. I think my phone is not compatible with streaming. That's what it seems like. Yeah, I tried and it told me I needed to rotate my device because it was the wrong way around. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that. And it looks like the video is shit again, even though I tried a different position. And there's a little bit of feedback. But yeah, so checking in with y'all, see what's going on, and still kind of fucking sick, which sucks. Like sinus congestion and shit. There's a fucking tornado last night in our town, so I guess I'm fortunate really just to have power here to be talking to you. But you know, still fucking sending me pictures of sweet ass landscapes and shit. And yeah, I think he comes back into town either tonight or tomorrow. But that's what's up. So what's going on out there? Oh yeah, you should see the. I don't know if you saw the picture of the tornado jumping the highway out here from yesterday, but it's pretty fucking extreme to say the least. Funnel cloud, but it missed all of my people anyway, thankfully, and there's a few limbs down and stuff around the studio here, being back in the woods and whatnot. But hey, Catface. But the tornado definitely ripped the shit out of the power lines and the surrounding whatever infrastructure up and down this road. But I guess the power here was only out for a few hours. At my house across town, the power was out until fairly late last night, and then once that shit came back on, I had to iron t-shirts. We did yeah, it is. I'm glad everybody was all right. No major damage to anything. And yeah, Catface, there was a tornado that blew through part of this town here, Saugerties, and you know, as I understand it, actually, there's still some people that maybe in the town don't have power, but you know, it's kind of a trade-off for rural living, I guess. I wish it would have sucked me up and taken me to Oz. That would have been sweet. I wonder if they got like sinus infections in Oz, like what I got now. So yeah, this weekend we silk screened our own t-shirts. It's the first time I'd ever done that, and so we made a batch of Surmiser t-shirts. I should be repping one today, but I was running a little behind the gun, trying to get some stuff done, and didn't work out that way. So one of these next couple weeks, though. I also had let me just rotate this camera a little bit. I had a musical guest set up for us for this week too, and because of the storm and the scheduling stuff, he ended up having to pull out of that, so that kind of sucks. I was kind of hoping to have what you call it, Joe McNulty is what I call him. That's his given name, I guess, but he's reinvented his image now as Johnny Mudge. So Was gonna have Johnny Mudge come up from Brooklyn and do a set. Actually had a anticipating the shitty video. I set up my Zoom Q2 HD video in here and everything. I was gonna have him sitting where I am, and you know, so that we could launch a video, a clear video of it later on. But let me catch up with you here. Cat face, yeah, I'm a lot better than I was last week. It got a lot worse after the stream throughout the end of the week, and then through the weekend I pushed it a little too hard and it came back a bit. So I'm still, I don't know, I got some sinus thing going on. I don't know what it is, but Surmiser is, I don't know, I guess one time my dad said something to me that about I would surmise, and I said, so you're the surmiser. And then somebody used to call me the surmiser because I used that word in conversation one time. And so when it was time to name this band, yeah, I just kind of grabbed that. But you know, I don't know, I thought it was clever at the time. Doesn't seem to be a surmise, doesn't seem to be a word that comes up a lot in most people's day-to-day conversation. So but so yeah, this week it's been a shit ton of tech work going on. I serviced a Gibson Duo Medalist, which is a really weird late 60s Gibson combo amp, 2 channels. It's got reverb and tremolo in it, 112, and it's, you know, it's pretty big. I'd only ever seen those on the internet, and a guy that I'm doing some service work for in a band called Winnebago Vacation. He also plays in Top Nachos and I think one other project too, Eli Frank. He had some monitors, some Genelec monitors that got hit with a power surge, 2 studio monitors and the sub that goes with them. So as I was loading those up, he came out with this Gibson Dual Medalist, and I serviced it, and I said, man, I've never seen one of these before. And so I did it and returned it and didn't really think much more about it. And then I went to one of the music stores that I do service work for, and sure as shit, they had what's called a Super Medalist, which is the Duo Medalist in a 212, and it stands about this high. It's an enormous, towering piece of shit that weighs like, as much as like a half-grown human. But so that's been the big goings on, I guess. Well, probably the surmiser is probably one of the nicest things somebody could have called me, I guess. But yeah, generally it actually means to suspect, theorize, guess, or speculate without provable information or without proof. But yeah, we just needed to call it something, and I actually don't think we had really named it until the first record was about to come out. I decided I wanted to call that Subsonic Panic Alarm and the project Surmiser sort of all in one go, and then everybody was just sort of on board with it because nobody had any idea what to call it. Yeah, naming bands sucks because of that. I tend to think that semi-obscure single word band names work out the best because rarely are those taken. I also have a thing for like Latin, the Latin language, so I'll go through a Latin to English dictionary and like dig out words. and put things together sometimes, especially like our second full length, second record, first full length, um, Sempiternum, Forever or Eternity. I like playing with that stuff, but yeah, as far as naming bands, I don't know. What is lorem ipsum? I haven't got my Latin to English dictionary. And my MIDI verb's doing something weird in front of me here. So you're actually watching from a different spot than where we usually stream. I was trying to put the camera and subsequently the phone in a spot of better reception. So it's by an outside wall near a window kind of now, in the corner of the control room. And I'm sitting on the bench that Mike's usually sitting on when he's up here. But doesn't seem like it made shit of a difference for the video quality as far as having better service, so I don't know. It doesn't look any better here anyway. Yeah, no, same shit. Yeah, naming bands, I think sometimes you just got to be random as shit too, or invent words even. That tends to work out pretty good. So this week I also got I ordered my first spool of tape and the the empty take up reels and stuff for that. Still working on getting that alignment tape though. Wow, really? Somebody called their band that already? I don't know. I think it's really tough. It always seems like when I'm trying to help somebody name their band, like when you're trying to be the most clever is when you run into names that somebody else already used. So it's a shitty game and I hate it. But there are definitely some clever ones out there though. You can always name your band after like some super obscure like Highlands holiday seasonal feast or meal or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure side effects. Definitely. Now you got me thinking about band names. I don't even have to name a band right now. Yeah. Auxiliary etiquette. But yeah, so what's everybody been up to this week? Hopefully not dealing with tornadoes and monster size amps. Oh yeah, cheap Walkmans, that's cool. And stuff with those? Are there record heads on any of them? I was watching this thing. There's a hack for it's a Marantz brand um, cassette player, but there's like a DIY tutorial on how to turn it into a really sweet tape delay, and so a bunch of those. You got no record with any of them, huh? Um, What's the mic you're bidding on, Catface? So what's the plan with the old Walkmans then? Gonna make a tape loop and record it on something else and then use them as playback that way? I should see if I can find you the link for that Marantz thing. It's actually pretty sweet. I'm sure it's in my video history anyway. Anyway. 7,000 screen printing videos. Huh. I'm sure it's in here. A whole bunch of homemade plate reverbs too if you check my history out. I don't know if you guys can do that from there or how that works exactly. Where is the damn thing? So Watkins copycat, we're getting close. So if you want to check it out, I'm going to copy the link and then go back to my stream here. This should be the right link. Langevin CR3A. Okay, I got you. That's cool. And Matt, you put up Oral X behind your monitors and got a portable vocal booth set up, huh? So what's the portable vocal booth? Is it a homemade thing or did you buy a kit? Is it like a panelized, breakdown room kind of deal? Or is it just reflection filters that you can move around and stand up? Yeah, the way that works is the guitar writes to the tape and it comes back around, I guess, to the playhead on the tape loop. And they set them up to vary the speed of the motor so that you can vary the speed of the delay. But sounds really fucking good though, like for a home built kind of hack job thing. I think is one of my favorites I've heard so far. And there's somebody who took one of those and rehoused it too. Put it in like a purpley, I don't know, maroon maybe colored housing with all its controls below it and stuff. That one came out sweet. But yeah, the basic principle is that the signal leaves the record head and returns to the playback head in a tape loop. You could, however, if you had multiple head machine, there would be like a track effect if you recorded and then immediately hit the playhead. It'd be a very short delay, but oh yeah, I know the SE, the reflection filter. That's cool. They're really good for getting a certain closeness to the vocals, especially. Yeah. I'll tell you though that the reflection filter is a whole lot better than we recorded vocals one time in a very acoustically dead closet, and it was almost unnerving to track in there because it was so dead, that it kind of like made me nervous, if that makes any sense. So yeah, the reflection filter is cool though. Lets you kind of do it in whatever room you want, and not have to be subjected totally to. Yeah. Trying to think what else is going on. Kind of behind my checking on the board and emails too. I've sort of fallen off with that over the last week, being sick. Sucks. Yeah, the filters definitely you know, they help in a lot of the right ways, especially if your rooms are not um, acoustically correct or whatever. If you're not getting the sounds you want, it's a great way to do it. And we used to just do it with, you'd set up a vocal booth out of like old mattresses around you or something, and it all sort of does the same thing. You want to catch those early reflections and whatever, and clean up that mic signal. So, and of course, it's raining outside again today. Can't escape this gray, nasty weather. So we also got notification today that the funds to do the tap amp run are on their way to the bank account, so we can start production shortly on those. Get stuff moving, and so that's pretty exciting. I have the PC boards on order, so we'll be underway here shortly, as soon as Mike gets his ass back from the Grand Canyon. Then I think he's leaving again for I want to say he's going to either Scotland or Ireland. I can't remember which. One of the two over summer. Then we're headed to NobCon in the fall out in Chicago. So he's got a very busy travel itinerary coming up this summer. His wife seems to have a knack for finding them reasonably priced travel deals and accommodations. So, yeah. What are we looking like on the stream? Is the audio good and the video shit? Is that basically the same for you as it is for me? Yeah, floors and ceilings being essentially consistently parallel, you'll get flutter echoes and stuff that can be really tricky to mic your way around. Out in my live room, there's big like imitation Persian rugs and stuff. Most of them actually came from Mike, which is interesting. But those are there with the sole purpose of dampening the flutter echo between the floor and the ceiling. And if you ever see a big studio that has like basically bare hardwood floor all through it, they're using clouds and different absorption on the ceiling to compensate the same way. So that's definitely a floor to ceiling and flat wall to flat wall standing waves and modes. are definitely the biggest thing to combat when you're trying to do some DIY treatment. Yeah, I don't know. The service over here doesn't look very good today. Wow. I always wanted one of those rugs, but there's a lot of like maintenance and upkeep if you want to keep them nice. And you got to take them outside and like beat them out and shit. You're not supposed to like vacuum them because it'll fuck them up, I guess. So I sort of avoided that myself. But and they're expensive. But yeah, it's definitely important either way, regardless of what you use, to have some way to dampen either the ceiling or the floor. And DIY treatments don't have to go on with helping to even things out. Just gonna leave it stank, yeah. I don't know. I've seen people do there's like the big like rug beater thing. I don't know what the hell it's called. Looks like a giant wire butterfly on the end of a stick. And I had visions of me like out on the porch here, like with a bandana tied around my head and face, like trying to whack all the disgusting shit out of a carpet, and it just didn't appeal. But yeah, definitely, like I said, carpets have their place in audio for sure, especially if you can't custom design a space or reconfigure the plane of the ceiling. Vaulted ceilings tend to lend themselves better, it would seem, to acoustic diffusion, but most people don't have access to a vaulted ceiling to record drums and things in, or a room with a vaulted ceiling to record drums and things in, unless you take over your house and do it that way, I guess. But there's a lot of really good information though about DIY treatment. Just about everybody that writes an article, I feel like, starts with the corners, and they build these things like what's behind me, the super chunk bass trap, and it can take up like a shit ton of space in your room, or it can just be a sort of narrow, shallow thing. But that seems to really ghosts might fly out, yeah. The ghosts of Footskin past. But yeah, so definitely look into corner traps and stuff. If you're building treatments, you can build things that are easily removed, and they're not necessarily portable, but they could be removed and reused someplace else if they had to be, without destroying all your sheetrock or whatever the hell's on your walls. So I would definitely look into that if you're working on doing treatments and stuff. Acoustics are a weird thing, though. I mean, everything we know about the way that sound travels and the way that air pressure moves and all of that, it all comes into play, and there are formulas based on physics that dictate how it should act and operate in a room and how you should be able to combat it. But it seems like every single room, regardless of how the formulas are laid out and how you calculate it, comes out, a little bit imperfect sonically, at least to the ear anyway. How would you go about recording a WAV file to the 4-track? Someone is remote and they're sending you a recording. I would take that WAV file. It's probably going to be a stereo file. If all you have to do it with is a phone or a laptop, I would take the headphone output of whichever device, use a splitter cable. I think I got one. You just use like an aux cord cable, you know, with a little 1/8 inch to dual mono quarters, and just plug it into a pair of empty tracks on your cassette, and start the tape recording, and then press play on the phone or the device, whichever. The AC compressor went out last night. Whoa. Yeah, that's it's getting to be a bad time of year to not have any kind of air conditioning available. That sucks. The headphone out is essentially for our purposes here line level, yeah. So if you plug that, you won't need a DI for it, unless for some reason you can't get it to interface the 1/4 inch inputs. Um, Start with your gain all the way down on your channels that you're inputting, um, and bring it up till you're happy with how it sounds, but you're not going to hurt anything doing it that way. Hey, twin, what's going on? 100% humidity. That sucks. Awful early in the year for that. That's not fun at all. It's one thing I don't miss about traveling in the summer into like the south. The heat and the humidity never lets up. So yeah, that's what I would do though, Catface. I would just run the aux cord straight into the 4-track, and you're not going to damage anything if you do that. Um, Worst case scenario is it'll clip like hell or be distorted if you set the gain trims too high, but it won't hurt anything. You actually should be able to feed that into a high Z input if that's all that's available. But yeah, gear in hot and humid cars and trailers, and yeah. Um, 3-pecker Billy, oh man. Yeah, gear in hot and humid cars and trailers and vehicles is not a good thing at all. Um, I've seen all kinds of fucked up shit happen to electronic components because of that. Premature failures and all sorts of stuff. Or the plastic heats up and warps and will never go back, or guitars ruined and drums with cracking shells or cracked wraps and all kinds of stuff. No good at all. Oh, you had vinyl melt too? Oof. Damn. I think the worst thing I've seen was I serviced a piece of equipment for Queensryche that had been left in a trailer in the middle of Texas for a week. Um, it was like a TC Electronics G Major. And just the heat of being in that trailer had blown all the capacitors in the power supply on that thing was sitting there. And yeah, good one. Big mess. Yeah, well, I don't know that I've ever seen vinyl melt. I've definitely seen CDs and CD cases melt, though. I gotta imagine it's about the same thing. Total ruination. Stream died? You got me? Still says we're streaming. I'm not sure. Are we back? All right, good. We're back. Excellent. Yeah. My phone is maybe not optimal for this without Wi-Fi, so I'm not sure. But oh, it really be folded like a taco. Damn, how hot was it there? Yeah, I don't know why it cuts so bad. Where that phone's sitting right now, there's 3 bars of service out of like a possible, I think 5. I don't know. It's really aggravating. I guess it pisses me off because like sometimes you just want shit to work without having to figure out 55 workarounds. Yeah, I blame the leaves on the trees outside at the moment. Seems like back here when the leaves flush out, the service diminishes. But I actually thought about streaming from my landlord's house tonight if Johnny Mudge had been able to make it up for the stream. But because they have Wi-Fi there and we'd still have peace and quiet, so I don't know. Fuck the grannies. Uh-oh. Oh, Grammys, I see. Ha. Not sure why that makes a difference, but certainly seems to. Did we drop again? Damn. Sort of seems like it's working still. Yeah, this was a Serape blanket to start with. It actually shipped from I think out of Mexico, but it's like a hand woven setup. It's getting a little threadbare in some spots because I think the kids I record sit on this thing and fucking pick at it. So there's like some poles in it and stuff, but a couple big ones over here. But I basically cut it up and used it for upholstery anyway. Yeah, I think they last a long time as long as you're using them as they're intended. Oh, man. You back? I don't understand what keeps happening. Yeah, it's back. Actually, on my tablet here, it kind of looks better than it did before. I don't know. We'll see how long that lasts. I think the sun amps are actually really solid. You know, it depends on what era or what model it is. Like the earliest ones had solid state preamps and ran Dynaco power amp sections. Um, those are interesting. I wouldn't say they're the greatest thing Sun made, but they're definitely interesting. But the later stuff, Model Ts and like the 100S and stuff like that, you You know, the tube ones are fucking sweet. And also the beta leads, which were a CMOS power amp section, like 70s chip technology, basically. Um, those really fucking kick ass, especially if you want like some real, heavy mid-rangey, dirty tones. So it came with a weird diode in place of the rectifier. Yeah, the Solaris is fucking sweet, definitely. Um, what was the weird diode in place of the rectifier? Was it a plug-in replacement module, or was it actually a diode strapped across the socket inside? Yeah, and they definitely. I totally agree with like the stoner rock doom thing. Like the Suns are you know almost a must-have when it comes to that. Yeah, the plugins are pretty common. There's like ghetto ones you can get from like Sovtech makes one. It's just a bunch of 1N4007 diodes strapped in a little socket with a cap on it. But then there's like I think it was Weber that made the copper cap, which has a couple resistors and a capacitor and diodes in it to sort of simulate the sag of a tube rectifier. But they all work. The only thing to really watch with putting a solid state rectifier in place of a tube rectifier like that is that it'll raise your plate voltage by a fair bit depending on what the original rectifier was. If you're going from like a 5AR4 to solid state diodes, the difference is negligible usually. But if you had something like a 5U4GB, that's a really high drop rectifier. So you're dropping a lot of voltage at the rectifier itself. So when you plug in a solid state diode block, you're probably raising your plate voltage like somewhere between 50 and 70 volts. So you got to make sure that the filter caps are in good shape and that the filter caps can handle that voltage to begin with. It's really important actually to know what um, your starting voltage is before you replace that tube rectifier. Well, if they made that, if that was stock to that head, um, you'd have to look at the bottom of the tube socket, the wiring portion of it. Hey, David. If God damn it, there we go again. If you open that head up and look at the tube rectifier socket, if you have 4 wires at that socket, like 2 yellows and 2 reds, then you theoretically could be running a tube rectifier in there. If the chassis was already punched for rectifier tubes and they decided not to use one, so they just strapped, a module in there, then most likely you would just have 2 red wires on one side and a single wire that goes out to the first stage filter cap on the other. But you should have 2 yellow wires, 2 red wires, and then off of one of those yellow wires will be a wire that goes to the first filter cap if it was meant for a tube rec. But I don't know that they made them with plug-in modules from the factory like that. I'm pretty sure that at least all the ones that I've taken apart and worked on have had a board inside that had rectifier diodes on it. But I guess there's always that chance. I certainly haven't seen everything, so. And yeah, plenty of pedal builders trying to emulate that sound. It's kind of funny though, because they'll build a preamp to try to emulate the Sun sound, and then you buy it, and what do you do with it? You plug it into a twin reverb or a Marshall JCM 900 or something. Like it's a it's really subjective. Never owned an amp older than a 1982. Really? Huh. 312 cabinet's fucking cool too, yeah. I bet it weighs about a ton and a half. Huh. The first tube amp I ever owned was a 60s Silvertone. It wasn't the Twin 12, it's the one down from that. It's the 1483. It was like the bass amp version, 30 watts. And when I had that thing, I recapped it, but I didn't know shit. And it still worked pretty good. But yeah, I think if knowing what I know now, I could have made that a much better amp than it ever was then. I think I got 150 bucks for it on Craigslist, like, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. Yeah, Vibrochamps are way cool. Actually, if you're going to buy a champ, the Vibro's the one to get. Because it has the EQ in it. I think the champ is one of the most commonly cloned circuits there is in the small combo department. It's kind of a weenie sounding amp when you play it through its stock speaker, but if you can hook that thing to a single 12 or even to a 412, those things fucking rip. They sound so good. Keep the caps fresh in it and fix whatever happens to break, and it'll be good to you for a long time. They're really not a complicated piece to maintain or own. I just did one here actually. Music store got it in on trade, and it worked, but the EQ controls didn't do anything, and it was like ice pick bright. And I opened it up, and somebody had tried to mod it for a push-pull to like bypass the tone stack. They took out a bunch of the original components and didn't put anything back in the holes, and it looked like they had just gotten to a point where it actually worked again, so they did what they could to get out from underneath it. So I think it took like, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes to get it back into shape. And then I turned that push-pull pot that they had put in there into a basically like a mid boost, which also boosts the gain. Fender tone stacks have a resistor to ground. I think it's 6.8K off of the base pot to ground. If you interrupt that and put like a 1K resistor in line with a I've had the most interesting luck with like a 250K pot set up as a variable resistor. That becomes a control that at its extreme low point scoops your mids, and then when you get up to like around 2 or 3 on the knob, that would be stock. And then the higher you go, the more mids you get, but also the less tone stack you get, so the more gain you get. And if you make that a switchable push-pull bypass, basically does like the brown face Fender thing where there's almost no tone stack load on the circuit. So you get real like nasty kind of, you know, dirty, bluesy sort of tones. But yeah, that's a great amp anyway. I'm watching the video play with a delay on. I'm doing weird fucking things with my hands. They're great for a low volume tone. What's up, J-Rad? Clapton also used things like the 18 watt Marshall combo and, you know, shit like that. But yeah, you could try the David you're talking about for the Rhodes, or just for guitar. Huh. No, I've never had anybody give me weird looks, and when I say the word blackface, it's although I don't usually talk about amps with around those types of people anyway, but I certainly could see how that might set somebody off if they didn't understand what you meant. Um, Catface, yeah, the Blackhearts, it's a PC board, small wattage. Um, I actually have a couple speakers from one of those, or from a few of those, that I use in a test cabinet when I repair heads and stuff. Yeah, you could try the Rhodes. Hey, what's up, Easy? David, you could try the Rhodes through the Vibrachamp. I think it'll be missing, um, the meat in the low end, but there's certainly no reason you can't do it. The problem with the Champ is that little tiny speaker and its frequency response. So if you can get the amp driving something a little bit bigger, um, the total peak output doesn't change of the amplifier itself, but the tone certainly opens up. That's a really is a great sounding circuit. The Class A single ended is hard to beat. Yeah. I think the Blackhearts were well intended. I don't think they're a terrible sounding amp. Um, the build quality to me would be suspect, but if you can get it for a reasonable price, it would probably be worth having around, especially if you don't have another tube amp. Um, well, David, that's what I'm saying about just plugging that into another cabinet, though. Um, Really, it opens up a Champ when you put it into something that's at least a 10, if not a 12. Um, I built a couple suitcase amps that were basically modified Champ circuits driving 12s, and you've basically got to pry those out of people's cold dead hands to get them back off a loan. So oh, wait a minute, I think I'm missing something here. What did I miss? Yeah, this thing keeps dropping out. Oh, Black Star, is that what you meant? Yeah, J-Rad, the Bugaras tend to be clones. Bugara is a Behringer sub-brand, so they're clones of classic, decent sounding amps. Um, every one I've taken apart has a black circuit board with black solder masks, so they're really, really difficult to backtrace for repairs and stuff. But I think overall they sound pretty all right. The Black Stars I've worked on, not a fan of those. Way too much fucking technology going on in there for a tube head. There's a lot of micro componentry and switching bullshit and a whole bunch of not worth it. Yeah, easy. Yeah, we're just bullshitting at this point, I think. Brian May definitely, that homemade guitar especially, the design that he and his father concocted there was that was a stroke of genius. And I really think it wouldn't have mattered what amp you put that thing through. It just has that sound. Yeah, I think if it was me, Catface, I'd go for a black heart over a black star because like I said, the black star stuff is fucking full of bullshit. Twin, he and his dad not only built his guitar, but they designed it also. His dad was a master cabinet maker, and they concocted that. Yeah, the Black Hearts are similar, certainly in build quality, to the Bugaras. The sixpence coin, really like a brass coin or a piece of change as your guitar pick? I had a Jet City 20 head for a while that was sort of interesting. It took pedals fine. Had an okay tone. Was a little on the bland side. It's good for making your guitar loud. I mean, there's no arguing that, and easy to work on too. Yeah, AC30s are definitely badass. The only problem with the AC30 is it ran hot as shit. And it ran hot because the tubes were um, under biased, so they were consuming way more current than they should have been. And the power transformer was never spec'd to handle the kind of current draw that that tube or that amp configuration required. So you listen to an AC30, especially one that's had some time to heat up. They're real saggy and they got like a real nice spongy kind of attack to them. That's why the power supply sags super hard, um, especially with the rectifier tube they use. I think it was an EZ81, which is a 9-pin little bottle. Um, but they other than tubes and transformers, AC30s are a really really great amp. And we're back. Uh, let's see. Yeah, Brian May and his dad built the guitar. That guitar is mahogany. I'm not sure if it's one piece or what, but I know it's mahogany, and I'm fairly certain it's chambered, which also adds to the sort of like the way that the tone projects from it. Yeah, the V5 is 5 watt modes. Yeah, running the amp wide open with the tone controls bypassed is definitely something that, like, I don't care what amp it is. That is a totally different voice to your, you know, a totally new voice to your rig if you can figure out how to do that. And it's more than just turning the controls all the way up in most cases. There's always some residual load on the circuit, but if you can bypass it or lift it, there's a lot of tone that you'll find there. Yeah, the Tascam reel to reel. We're back. All right, I guess we're back again. Tascam reel to reel. I got the pinch roll I ordered a pancake of tape and some empty reels to put that on. So I really want to fire it up and just see what happens. Want to print test tones and see if record and playback works as it is. I know it needs to be aligned, and that's not a great way to test it, but I need some way to test and make sure that the electronics are at least partially functional so I can troubleshoot what's going on. It's a model 38.8, so it's an 8-track, half-inch reel-to-reel Tascam machine. Yeah, Matt, anytime you've got an amp that has a tiny speaker in it like that, solid state or tube or whatever, it's always a cool experiment to plug it into a single 12 or two 12s or four 12s or a 410 or 15, whatever. Again, you'll find enormously varied tones there. An amp that sounds real tight and constricted through a 6 or an 8-inch speaker is going to sound, most likely worlds different through a 12 or something that'll actually let its low end breathe. Yeah, well, easy. I think that's sort of like part of Brian May's sort of that bell-like sound that he always got out of the Red Special was the way that he played with the volume control across the attack of the note. Some of it's feedback, some of it's the saturation of the amp, and some of it is that volume control. Oh yeah, Mike was messaging me before he left that you had hooked him up with an 8-track. It's a 1/4-inch 8-track? Offline again. Fuck. I'm coming back. We live again? Can you see me? Ugh. Why is it doing this to me? Yeah, I already told Mike that I told Mike he's gonna have to buy an alignment reel for that, and I told him about how much I've spent so far on mine, and he's like, "Oh man, Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Like I watch the stream on my tablet here so that I can monitor the chat, and it'll say like offline. So I don't know what the fuck's going on. If it doesn't go away within a second or two, then I pop up. But yeah, spider webs and shit. Yeah, the 1/4-inch. That's interesting. I'm curious to see it when it gets in, and I'm sure if it's been sent to him already, he'll be waiting at the post office box, and he'll pick it up like the second he gets home. J-Rad, yeah, there's a couple of guys around here that are like old school session cats that will set their volume somewhere around halfway as like their normal point so that they can roll down or they can roll up, and they use it for swells on notes and stuff. I'm sort of like a wide open kind of person myself. I tend to just set it and forget it, but oh, does he have actual Tascam alignment tapes? Or does he just have MRL reels? Yeah, you know, um, Twin, I tend to, when I get a new piece of equipment, I tend to turn all the knobs all the way up just to see how bad that can get. And usually with the guitar, I mean, it's sort of like I have so many things going on with screaming and carrying on over my guitar playing that rarely do I touch the volume control other than to shut it up in between songs. But I tend to I tend to delete the tone controls on mine. I don't know. I feel like the more options within my reach, the more chance there is for me to hit something accidentally and destroy the show. All right, okay, there we go, back again. So yeah, the guy's got original Tascam alignment reels. Does he rent those out or does he sell them or what's his shtick there? My plan for my machine is to get the MRL reel. You can just call the company up and tell them what your intended tape type is and what your machine is, and they'll send you a reel that's recorded at the right levels to do the alignment and setup with. But yeah, I would think on a telly bridge you would probably want to back that tone off a bit. That can get pretty bright, especially if you pick hard. But Tascam 238. I don't know the 238. 8 tracks on cassette though. That definitely piques my interest. Yeah, MRL is fine except for the cost. They're those reels are like about $250 at this point for the half-inch machine. So, oh, the 238 is a rack unit? That's very weird. That must be like the predecessor to like the DA88 I8 tapes and stuff. Or DA88 might have been DAT. I don't know. There are a couple that were very similar to that though. Full ice pick, yeah. It's not really my thing. My rig, for whatever reason, always ends up being fairly bright, but I definitely don't do that on purpose. I'm not a big fan of hot treble. The two, David, the 238 is the reason you're sticking with quarter-inch tape, or the MRL cost is the reason. The tape that I ordered is a company called RTM, Recording the Masters, and the reviews on their tape and the info I got from my brother from his explorations in tape sounds like that's the best bet, and they're certainly the most affordable. Yeah. The thing that scares me about tape isn't the tape cost as much as the upkeep cost of the machine. And, you know, most of it is basic electronics, but when you get into things like, you know, if it needs the heads lapped or if it needs new heads, God forbid, that shit gets expensive really fast. I think I paid about $85 for a pancake of 2,500 foot half inch. about 33-ish minutes of tape on the machine that I have. Yeah, new heads are real scary. There's a couple sellers on eBay pushing either new old stock or super low hour heads for the Task M38, and it looks like the price of that is like somewhere between $300 and $500 for a head stack, which is like, yeah, basically once they're gone, the unit is worthless. I would agree. I mean, for $500 to put a head stack in an $800 machine, I don't know if it could be worth it. But I will say that since the info went out that I got this machine, I've had 5 people get a hold of me looking to do sessions on it, and it's not even up and functional yet. So I have like a backlog of work to do with it before I even have the damn machine working. Oh, there's no head option at all for the 388? That sucks. So you just got to watch eBay and hope that you can find a working head stack to jam back in there if it goes bad. See, this really is the shitty part about tape. The upkeep cost and the parts costs. Everything else about it is very enticing, but, you know. I really look forward, though, to working with artists who actually want to cut to tape, because I feel like they'll be the ones that understand the fact that, you know, your do-overs are limited, and your track count is even more limited. I'm looking forward to some streamlined sessions that don't involve screens. Yeah. Wow, 4 of them, huh? Yeah, I'm a little nervous about backlogging work for a machine that like isn't even functional yet. I'm you know, there's a bunch that I have to still learn about using that machine, and I have to figure out how all the functions and processes work on it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Will you get an 8-input audio interface? I have 16 inputs here, so that's probably what I'll do with it. I'm planning on tracking to that thing, and I have a TIAC Tascam 5A console that I'll use in line with it, and then I'll either use the interface as mix down, or we'll just do bulk dumps straight out. Wow. What's the brand new deck you got in the box? Is that a Fostex or? Yeah, paying less than $200 for a tape machine is really sweet. I'm looking forward to getting that one that you sent to Mike, though. I'm sure that it's going to be some very interesting learning processes with that as well. Yeah, I think bulk dump to DAW is probably what the deal is, but I want to use that board that I have. I built a custom 2-bus for on the output. Uses discrete op amps, sort of API style circuit. So I really want to use the board as sort of an inline console, and then dump probably from the direct outs on the 8 inputs back through the interface. Seems like it would be most viable, but it'd also be cool to be able to just do a 2-track mix down to the interface so I can get the character of the whole board front to back. Yeah, for the most part with that one that Mike has, I think like I'm gonna let him go down the rabbit hole with that, because if I just make tutorials on how to take it apart and set it up, then he won't learn, other than whatever he can pick up from watching me. So I'll let him open it and clean it and do what he can do to diagnose it, and then we'll fix it up together. But with all these tape machines floating around, it's definitely going to be a very interesting summer, I suspect. It's kind of funny though that like once word spreads that you got tape machine people that never wanted to record anything with you before suddenly pop up out of the woodwork and want to come and make whatever records or EPs or whatever the fuck it is, you know, in your space. But I intend to approach that as yeah, I, I I intend to approach that as a you know, an experiment, but also a money making thing at the same time. I mean, you can't give your sessions away, but I also intend to keep the reel of tape unless the band wants to buy it. So, you know, for bands that want to purchase tape, um, the cost will increase significantly, and I'm sure whatever that Model 80, I'm sure once it gets here we can make work if it doesn't already. I missed that stream, so I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to go back and watch it either, so I'm not sure what the thing looks like or what kind of shape it's in. But I mean, really, how bad could it be? Belts, pinch roller. As long as the motor's working, the head stack's good, it'll be fine. I'm sure Mike is probably chomping at the bit to learn how to align that thing and then make videos on it too, so that'll be really fun. Yeah, the projects that I intend to actually have in to use that machine, I don't think that'll be a problem. I'm not gonna work. I'm not gonna work with anybody who's not well rehearsed in that. Ugh. All right, later on, Matt. All right, I don't know what this is doing. It's ping ponging in and out. It looks like. Um, yeah, I don't want to work with artists who aren't prepared with that machine. I basically just need you know, guinea pig bands to work with on that, but they need to be bands who are functional and productive. And the rehearsal parts of it anyway could happen with the outputs right off the mixer into the interface for fold back and monitor. But you know, I'm looking forward to it though. I want to get my hands dirty with that stuff like as soon as possible. Yeah, this is dropping out so fucking bad. And there it goes again. Well, all right. We'll see you next Wednesday, Matt. I actually think that we might be up here with Mike and I, maybe doing some Be Cool Cowboy live stuff. I feel like was the discussion. So don't hold me to it, but catch you on Wednesday. Yeah, but David, with that 38, it also, other than the repair costs to get it working and the tape costs and stuff, the machine itself doesn't owe me anything. So if the heads that are in it are functional as they stand for now, um, I'll basically use it till the wheels, or the heads, I guess, in this case, fall off of it. Um, and in the end, I'll have an alignment reel and tape and reels and nab adapters and all the bits and pieces for another machine should that become a thing. So I'm not too concerned about the wearing the heads out prematurely by doing sessions. I fully intend to use that piece of equipment to the maximum. And if it shits the bed, it shits the bed. If I can fix it, I will. If I can't, then on to the next thing. But I look at that thing just like I look at guitars and pedals and amps and stuff. Like, it's there to be used, so I'm not gonna be afraid to just run it. But I hear what you're saying. You got to be careful about extreme uses. Or all right, J Red, thanks for coming out. Enjoy those tacos. Yeah, I mean that's basically where I'm at with it. I want to get my hands dirty with tape and a free machine, and whatever repairs it requires are really the only price of admission. So we're gonna do it. So yeah, I mean that's sort of where I'm at with it. And I figure, I approached the ADAT the same way. When I first got that, I read about like, oh, if the heads wear out, you're fucked. If your machine has, this many hours on the heads, it's probably no good, and you'll get errors. And you know, to me, it's like, I want to use the technology, until I can't use it anymore. Rarely do I keep things around that I'm afraid to use. If yeah, that's basically it. But yeah, I hear you too on that 388. I mean, if you can't get heads for that thing, I mean the that whole machine, the assembly of that is it's a hell of a thing. So I would try to keep that alive as long as possible. I feel like the Tascam 38 and the 32 and 34, those are sort of like, I hate to use the word disposable because I don't feel like anything's really disposable, but they're definitely lower line models. So if it lunched the heads or whatever, that's just the way the thing goes. And if I can do enough sessions with it where it actually makes me some money, then maybe I could look at getting something like a better machine anyway, like the Otari MX5050 we talked about. There's a couple Ampex machines, I think, from like the 80s that would suit. I also wouldn't mind having like a 1-inch 16 track or something like that. Wouldn't be bad. So I don't know, but I feel like I got to get my feet wet somewhere. So if running and ultimately destroying a Tascam 38 is how it works, then I'm all for that, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it was, if the failure is catastrophic, I wouldn't really be too upset. But like, channels burning out or recap or whatever, like that to me that's a new adventure and a challenge. So I think where I'm at in my life and where I'm at with technology, the tape machine just dropped in my lap at the right time. And if it gets to the point where I can't fix it, out it goes, part it out. The only thing that sucks about those Tascams, the 32, 34, 38, like a lot of the old machines had modular preamps, and you could use those as mic pre's, and they have like their own cool character and vibe when you use them outside of their intended application. Like, you really miss that with the sort of prosumer decks. They have shitty line inputs and not amazingly designed signal paths, and so once they're junk, they're basically junk, I guess. Yeah, it seems like plastic parts and rubber parts are the sort of the death of a lot of these machines beyond the things like the head stacks. You know, seems like the plastic parts don't age well, and obviously the rubber parts just disintegrate. And eBay definitely has been, I agree, helpful with my quest for parts. So so well, the part that holds the, let's see, the little part that holds the reel on. So do you mean the latch that holds the reel on? Because if you look the machines up, yeah, I was just gonna say that so many units are getting parted out on eBay all the time. So it would really be to your advantage to look that up and see what you can find. I was actually surprised to see how many even the Tascam 38s are getting sold part by part and piece by piece on there. Well, the current thought process on the Rhodes preamp is basically as I had laid it out before. um, it basically amounts to a Fender amp input and preamp section that feeds sort of a phase inverter style output with a transformer hooked to it. Um, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward design. I just have to get the last of the shit together and do the thing. Yeah, I feel like the way that the Rhodes pickup registers the attack is extremely wide and it's dynamic. So I definitely could see it overloading. And the dull is just about the impedance mismatch and stuff. Yeah, well, once the prototype one for you is done, I have to find somebody here to run the run roads through it, improve the design, and then from there it could make its way to you. I know there are several studios over here I could weasel my way into and just mess around with it for half hour or so and make sure that it does everything I want it to do. But and I think that my thought on that whole thing is really that rather than building a whole bunch of them, because it's not really a lot of money to be made there once you get all the parts in hand. You know, I was sort of thinking about doing it as a layout online and maybe a parts kit kind of thing, where I give you the spec on all the parts that I used and give you a schematic on how to make it. It's really fairly simple as far as the assembly goes. Machine work on the box is kind of whatever, and yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, I think that really has a lot to do with the impedance mismatch and the way that it's loading the roads. And that's sort of where the guitar input, especially in a tube-based circuit, comes in, because the input impedance is so high. You should have no problem getting the high-end detail out of it. Yeah, I really need to start making videos on this channel like regularly. I have so many pieces and clips saved up at this point where, like, um, you know, it's just a matter of doing a voiceover track and editing the thing together. Um, but I still don't have software to do video edits, so I'm still sort of doing what I can to not rely on, you know, making Mike do it. I know he doesn't need any more work to do at this point, but you know, I hate having to ask him to do more things because he's already busy enough. But that's sort of where I'm at. I'm sure a lot of people are struggling with the Rhodes Direct just because it's such a, you know, it's such an odd instrument as far as the way that it interfaces other things. But the hope with that box too is that, you know, it would be an adequate preamp to go out and play shows with too, so that you didn't have to bring, like, you know, the Rhodes amp or a Fender Twin or whatever and then mic that, or rely on the shitty sound of a DI in a venue. You know, you would have your own tube DI then, basically. And yeah, I think that could be good. Although with me playing a Rhodes, I don't know how good that video would be. I'm not much of a keyboard or piano player, but you know, the idea of making a simple tutorial on what it is and how it works, though, I can definitely handle. But I'm certainly nobody's keyboardist. Although I could take Mike along with me, he can actually play keys. So there's that. I've started making little pieces of videos on all kinds of things, though, and I suspect that once I have time to actually edit, there's probably going to be a whole lot of content dropping all at once. Yeah, bringing a Rhodes to a show definitely would suck, but I've seen it happen. You got the 88 key, so that's even heavier. But my brother had I forget how many keys it was. It was a smaller one, though. We put it in, like, the back seat of a Subaru wagon. It was like the suitcase one. But it still took two of us to carry that thing, and we carried it into and out of a studio a couple times, up and down stairs. That really sucked. And they didn't do you any favors with the way that the handles are placed either. I don't know. But yeah, I know they're brutal to carry, definitely. Yeah, 88 key, right. Yeah, I'm not sure what the count on the one that my brother owned was. But like I said, I think that was like called the, I feel like it was like the suitcase model. I don't really remember. It's been like almost 2 years since he sold that thing, so. But that we always ran through either a twin reverb or a pro reverb, and I know that that sounds awesome. So that's sort of why I went that Fender preamp direction for this design, anyway. Yeah, so maybe his was 73 keys. I'm not sure. I don't, like I said, other than how they function, I don't know a lot about the Rhodes as far as its configurations or. Oh, so maybe his wasn't the suitcase then. It just had a 1/4 inch output on it and a volume control, I think. His definitely did not have a full 88 keys though, although heavier than hell. Huh. I'll have to message him and see what his was. I know that when he sold that, the minute it went up on uh, Craigslist or wherever the hell he sold it, he had a whole bunch of replies, and the second person that had messaged him about it was the one that ended up buying it. Yeah, I'll have to ask him. I know it definitely didn't have the amp included, and it had four legs with tennis balls on the end that lived in the fold open part. It was like a, I don't know. Old Vox organ, yeah. You know, if you ever really want to experiment with that, you should check out like the free sections of like classifieds and stuff, because people give away those old living room style organs for free all the time. Cons and Hammonds and Baldwin. There's a whole bunch of different ones. But I see them, at least here anyway, I see them all the time coming up for free. Make sure you go with like 2 or 3 people and a pickup truck. The love-hate instruments, you mean as far as like the tonal limitations and the. Yeah. I don't know. You know, learning the keys though is tricky. There's a certain amount of like ambidexter. I don't know. Ambidextrousness. I don't know if that's the right word, but whatever. You got to be able to do things independently with two hands, and while like playing guitar and stuff, you do things with both hands. There's a certain amount of critical manual dexterity required for that that I certainly don't possess. I can play the shit out of some keyboards going like this, but you know, I also tend to type the same way. I just don't. I don't have the right coordination. I guess I don't know. Ambidexter, yeah, ambidexterity. There you go. Perfect. Yeah, I've always wanted to at least get a better grasp on how to play a keyboard, but very frustrating. And then I see people who can just rip that shit up. You know, they climb on these Hammond organs with rotary cabinets hooked to them, and it just sounds like, you know, it's way outside of me. Yeah, right. You watch Ray play that thing though, is like, you know, he could be almost the whole band just with his right hand. It's crazy. Oh, really? What's the Fender piano bass? Is that similar to the Rhodes? It's like a lower register kind of setup. Oh, okay. Answered my question. There you go. Mom's turlet. Welcome back, Matt. All right, y'all. I gotta step out for just a minute. I shall return. All right. So what did I miss? Yeah, mini Rhodes. They wire like the pickups are out of phase or something to modify the way the harmonic pickup is. Huh. It's very interesting. Oh wow. Coming around on 9 o'clock already too. Damn. Yeah, so it's really just holding down like the actual bass register then across the whole fingerboard. Huh. I'll have to research that. It's pretty cool though. So was that like what they were using for the bass sound on? I know a lot of the Doors stuff either had no bass or they had session bass players, but cool, cool. I think the James Jamerson sound wasn't that like the Motown DI. Personally, I like short scale basses. Yeah, um, the bass player and Surmiser is frequently using a short scale. He's got a '70s music master that he plays live now. Yeah, that's what I was wondering, David. I know that there were some sessions that were done that had bass players, but it seems to me that if he had that setup, that the bass would have easily been accomplished that way. Oh yeah, the EBO, yeah, those are sweet. No, David, the one I was talking about is there's a Motown Tube DI. Um, that was real popular with bass players back in the day. I forget who designed it, but if you Google the Motown Tube DI, you'll find a whole bunch of examples of it, I'm sure. Um, and I'm pretty sure that's the James Jamerson recorded sound. Um, I know there's a whole lot of people that use that DI anyway, not just in like Motown specific studios, but the Bo Hansen DI though does have a nice fat bass sound. Huh, interesting. I didn't even know they made signature model Mustang basses. But I definitely am a fan of short scale guitars and basses. Although I will say that the short scale bass seems to not get nearly as thunderous in the low end as something like a Thunderbird, something that to me feels like a long scale, not just a normal scale, but a long scale bass. Huh. Yeah, I'm telling you that DI, I'm pretty sure, was the Motown. I'll see if I can find a video of the Motown Tube DI. I'm sure there must be a YouTube video of that here somewhere. Well, here's a preview of the Acme Audio. Damn. See if I can get this to load up. I'll send out the link to it. All right, so there's that. Go back to my channel and drop this in for you. Yeah, gas can seriously afflict musicians. But seriously, check out that YouTube link I put up after the stream's done or whatever, and you'll see what I'm talking about with that Motown DI. I don't know a lot about its makeup or its history, but I know that a lot of people swear by it sonically, so definitely worth a listen. And ironically, when you search that DI, James Jamerson bass sounds tutorials come up, so yeah. And I'll check out that Jackson 5 song too. I don't know that one. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm definitely down to have other people demo the things I build too. I really have to do demos for all these pedal boxes and stuff I've built over the last few years and get them up too. But again, I just, I always feel like I sort of lean on Mike for video editing things, and I hate to put extra workload on anybody else. So I don't know, but we'll get there. I really want to provide content on this channel that goes along with a lot of the things that we talk about that most people don't necessarily get that in depth with. I have about probably a 15 or 20-minute video in clips and pieces about the speaker recone thing and all that will hopefully help demystify some of that, and that's sort of what I want to do on this channel. So I also want to sort of pick a time, I think, to do live stream stuff, whether I take the channel to work with me and you're just like sitting in the corner and I'm building speakers or working on amps or whatever it is, or if it's like doing sessions or mix sessions and there's just a camera set up behind or whatever. I really want to kind of try to do that kind of stuff too. But yeah, but Mike has a lot of goals in mind that he's trying to accomplish, both in his personal life and also in the creation of content for his channel and all that stuff. And I sort of just have a perpetual flow. There's no real goal. I'm just trying to build and modify and repair equipment and keep music happening where I can, and keep myself fed. So I try to not lean on him for any more than I have to, because I know that he's got someplace he's trying to get to. But not that he won't help. I mean, I'm sure he would definitely help me edit things together, but I kind of feel like it's he's got his channel and I've sort of gotten exposure to everybody through it, and now it's sort of my turn to figure out how to make mine. Yeah, I don't know. I always, I feel like when it comes up, he's definitely willing to do it. I hate asking him, like I said, because it's he's sort of on his mission and I'm on whatever my mission is, and I don't want to complicate his situation any more than is necessary, really. But he did the music video for us, and I made sure before he came here that we had our B-roll stuff and all our ducks in a row, and the lighting was set and whatever else we needed to do was done. So all he had to do was roll in and shoot it, and then edit the thing together. Did it all in an afternoon. So if I'm going to lean on him for things, I want to make sure that I have all the pieces put together as best as I can before I approach him with it, so that literally all he has to do is spend an hour or so with me to cut it together and upload it. Yeah, what I really need to do is just get a copy of Final Cut or something like that to do simple edits with. I mean, I understand the flow and function of those programs. I just don't possess one. So once I do possess one, I can do pretty much whatever I want with it. And I really would like to be able to, like I said, provide content that deals with things that a lot of other people don't touch on, or that we talk about on the channel and on the streams. And basically all you have to go on is whatever I say and whatever we type back and forth. And I'd really like to give the bird's eye view of the hands-on on a lot of it. In the end, it's really about sharing knowledge and information, and trying to get people to a place where they can create and, you know, keep themselves in functioning gear and whatever. You know, it's about pushing pushing the idea of self-reliance to me. You know, that's why I like to share information. What's the issue? Why the hell am I not? My live chats are not updating. I'm sitting here like an asshole looking at. Yeah. Huh. You know, I've worked on a couple Fostex 4-track cassettes before that got jammed inside. Um, it's hard to explain, but if you can open the unit up with it powered off and spin with the few that I've worked on anyway, you spin the flywheel um, for the capstan, one either forward or backwards, whichever, and it'll make the mechanism release, unlatch, disengage, whatever. Um, for some reason, the Fostex machines also tend to get stuck with the heads up, like in play position, and it won't release. It'll fast forward and rewind right across the heads instead of pulling them out of the tape path. But yeah, try that, David. Open the machine up and see if you can spin the flywheel on the transport. Um, just rotate it either forwards or backwards, whichever, and see if you can get that to unlatch. The way that the mechanisms engage with the gearing in there is kind of funky, and most of that shit's plastic, so um, that's what I would try. All right, twin, we'll catch you next week. I'm actually gonna get peacing out here very shortly myself. A little after 9 now, and I got a big day of outside work and cleaning up limbs and tornado damage stuff and cutting grass, unfortunately. So I should probably wrap it too. Yeah, David, I'm sure though that transport is probably built almost exactly the same. So try that out. Open that thing up and see if you can make it manually disengage. In the meantime, I'll look that thing up. I don't know the 250, but maybe there's yeah, maybe I can either look at the pictures or do some research on it myself and give you an idea. But really, like I don't know why the Fostexes are like that, but a lot of them jam, and it's really a matter of spinning that thing backwards. And sometimes if you hold the stop button, if it's an analog thing, if you hold the stop button and then rotate it, it'll disengage whatever the stuck mechanism is. And it seems to not return once you clear it. I'm not sure why it happens, but the recurrence is very slim. But I'm not sure. what you'll find there. So, all right, it's about 10 after 9. We've been on for, I don't even know now, over 2 hours. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up, and we'll pick it back up on Wednesday. And like I said, I'll try to do some research on that in the meantime, David, and we'll see what the two of us could maybe figure out together on that. But anyway, so I'm gonna sign off now. I appreciate everybody coming out, liking and subscribing, and putting up with dropouts and shitty video. Someday we'll figure that shit out. Yeah, so hopefully you all get to do something you want to do each and every day, and enjoy the rest of your weeks. Have great weekends. Be safe out there. Make noise. Have fun. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Peace out. Good night, y'all.